I want to play the testimony of somebody who supported Donald Trump and was working at the IRS and then was fired because of Trump and Elon's gutting of the federal workforce. And I think there's a lot of insights that we can gain from this, some takeaways, and I'll go through those as we go along. But again, it's those tough combined feelings, which is on one end, any person loses their job, and I really do have sympathy. And also, it's hard not to go, right? We told you not to do it. We said, please, 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 no. That's a quote. He said that. And all I ask of these folks, and then come on to our movement, because we're gonna next go around electorally Republicans. But first, all I need is acknowledgement that people were saying that this was going to happen, and we were telling you the whole Project 2025, firing all these people and making the government so ineffective. It was coming, and that now you acknowledge that. That's all I ask from these folks. That's it. I don't think it's too much. So here is sort of the key part, and then we'll go back to the beginning and listen, because I think this gives us some, like I said, insight into the thinking. IRS worker just fired, doing an interview with a guy who's in his car for some reason.
Administration's actions.
I thought that he was. I did support him. I was a Trump supporter. When he talks about government waste and all that, yes, I'm behind it. I believe there is a lot of stuff in the government that needs fixing. And that's part of the reason why I actually wanted to work for the government, to help change the things that are wrong in the world, I thought that someone with like his business acumen would have come in with a fine-tooth comb and actually found it, instead of coming in with a wrecking ball and destroying people's lives for no reason.
Were you given a reason for the termination?
That my performance no longer fits the mission of the IRS.
Can you say whether or not your manager, your whoever?
All right. Yeah, it's really terrible. And again, on a human level, of course, we empathize with people losing their job, but inherently, it's not that you could never lay off if the jobs weren't necessary. People in the federal workforce will always feel bad if you lose your job unexpectedly, of course. It's not that that's the issue, because some people make it only about people being fired. If you believe that the firings are justified, making the government more efficient, whatever, then that's not going to land. So make sure if you're making this argument to people that you lay out the full argument, which is that they're, yes, turning people's lives upside down over here who have jobs in the government, and there's pain there, but so significantly, they were doing necessary jobs. And so pain's being created over here because we don't have the staffing to do for people across the country, everyday Americans, what is needed. And that comes in the form of funds being cut off, but also USAID is a really good example of you kick out all the staff members who were out there literally keeping people alive, or similarly in health clinics or all these different programs that are being gutted. Then those workers' jobs, they were necessary, and so people are harmed by it. It's a two-parter. It's not just people lose their jobs. That's painful, but if it was necessary, then it'd be okay. It's not, though, and it is a wrecking ball approach. And so you have the double, the pain for the individual people and the pain for the folks being impacted by the ineffective functioning of our government because of the mass layoffs with no rhyme or reason and no really coherent implementation and execution. And that's been playing out a bunch. With the IRS specifically, it's a great example. This guy lost his job along with a bunch of other IRS agents or staff members. And a lot of people viscerally will go, yeah, because you associate IRS with your money being taken. But in reality, one of the reasons that the Biden administration and Democrats enhanced the funding and the staffing for the IRS was because number one, it makes the government money. So it's actually one of the rare, really fiscally responsible things that you can do, where you invest $1 in more staffing for audits and more resources for the IRS, and you get back $1.50 or whatever the actual numbers are, to scale. And very importantly, it was specifically done to go after wealthy tax cheats. And so we were getting better at bringing it. So we're making the government money. We're being fiscally responsible, trying to address the deficit problem. We're bringing in more funds, but specifically starting with the wealthiest, who in more advanced ways get out constantly of taking, or of paying their taxes, what they're legally owed. And so if you don't give the IRS the resources to do that, if you don't have these guys on staff, these gals on staff, then they're not able to actually bring in the revenue that we as a country are having stolen from us, because wealthy people, for some reason, even though they have so much money, don't want to pay all what they owe in the taxes. So it's a perfect win-win for everyone. Unless you're fighting for billionaires and uber millionaires. Giga. And that's what Republicans seem to be doing. So this is a really perfect example of why in so many ways this is ideologically and morally wrong. Here's the beginning of this interview.
Tell me what happened today.
So, I went in at my normal time. When I arrived there, everybody was in a very downtrodden mood. And when I went to my computer, everybody was having some technical issues. Like none of our computers were really loading up either the programs that we needed to operate, or like Teams. My story is the Teams. That's kind of how I figured out that we were getting fired today. Was when I went in, I logged into Teams, and I sent you the photo of what I saw when I went to log in. And that's when I left my cubicle and I went around.
By the way, this is a total side note, just to add a little silliness for relief. Imagine you get contacted. This is an NBC affiliate by a station that, says there's someone with NBC. And you're like, oh my gosh. All right, it's a call and interview. I'm going to do my first television interview. And you're picturing hosts in a fancy, expensive studio. And then you get on the call and it's another guy in his car. Dang it, what? I thought this was going to be my first chance on the big time. It's just in a car or maybe that's even a RV or something. That's really funny. But another example of how MAGA, just for the sake of contradicting Biden, will root on actions that directly hurt them. So the IRS is a perfect example. Go after the IRS. We hate the extra agents. We hate the extra funding, even though it makes our government money. And we hate it, they'll say. Mainly just because Biden did it. But what they're going to come to find out is Biden very quietly was doing a bunch of stuff that was good for them. And Larry Levitt posted, Trump has rescinded a Biden executive order calling for the development of policies to lower drug costs for people in Medicare and Medicaid. And take a look at this. A caller from West Virginia called in to C-SPAN and said, wait, I didn't vote for higher insulin costs. I just noticed my insulin's going up.
Yes, ma'am. I'm calling from West Virginia, which was a red state for Donald Trump.
I know this seems patronizing, but I'm genuinely... that almost gives me like nostalgia from growing up with. I'm calling from West Virginia. Oh.
Yes, ma'am. I'm calling from West Virginia, which was.
Oh, that's so. See that by itself. Look at me, tearing up. That just like 10 different people from my childhood popped in my brain. That's why we can't leave people behind. We can't just say, "Oh, these red states."
Yes, ma'am. I'm calling from West Virginia, and which was a red state for Donald Trump. And they have a place called down here Public Debt. And a lot of my neighbors were voting for Trump. They walking around scared, crying, nervous, and they were forever Trumpers. But on a personal note, I'm a diabetic and I'm on Medicare. And when Joe Biden was in there, my insulin was $6 for a 28-day supply. I just went to CVS to get my new supply. It went back up to $80. They said because the American Recovery Act was canceled, so it went from $6 to $80. So I don't know if anybody else out there on Medicare. And
I saw that too. In response, Andrew Bates said, golden age for who exactly? Because they're saying Trump's administration is the golden age of America. And said inflation, tariffs turn consumers sour on Trumponomics. Yeah, you know who the golden age was for? You can really picture the image of it. The people who have gold, like the people with a lot of gold. It's the golden age for them, not for everyone else. It's becoming so abundantly clear that that's the case. Even this soon. It's not even that we have enough economic data to demonstrate that just a few weeks in, but the policy choices, knowing where that's leading. It is the golden age, but not for 99% of America. Share your thoughts in the comments.